Hello, my fellow Americans. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. It's Thursday, April the 11th, the year 2013. As I sit here, there are elected officials working hard against the Second Amendment. They want to take away my right to bear arms. They want to take away your right to bear arms. But you see, as I mentioned before, it's all a game. Rights are a concept. They don't really exist. There's one thing that exists, and that's power. You see, freedom, that's a concept too. But if you think about it, out in the wild, out in the jungle or in the forest, there's a certain balance. You have wolves, you have sheep, you have shepherds. And there's a balance. You see, you have other wild animals, you have birds, you have rats, you have skunks. You got all kinds of things out here. But nature has a way of balancing things out. And you see, those animals are free. They can pretty much do what they want, but they're always on guard for the predators. Sometimes they fight the predators head on, sometimes they win, sometimes they die. Sometimes they can escape from the predators, or they can avoid the predator, evade the predators. Sometimes they have to confront them, sometimes they get trapped. So they fight with everything, tooth and nail. Like if you trap a raccoon or a badger, you're in for a fight, let me tell you. The point is that we, the people, we're out here in this jungle called planet Earth, because from outer space, all of planet Earth is a jungle. And you see, there's some people who are predators, and they form gangs. And I'm not talking about the gangs in the city, I'm talking about the gangs called government. And they got the big guns. And some of them act like predators to other countries. Or they act like bullies, telling them what they can and can't do, what they can and can't have. They'll do things like economic sanctions, all in the name of freedom and liberty and justice. No, it's in the name of power. It's in the name of forcing their will and beliefs upon another country. It's that simple. Same thing with the Second Amendment. They want to be able to force their will and beliefs upon we the people. But if we the people have guns and weapons that we could stand up and tell them no, then there'd be a fight. See, they don't want to fight. They just want the control. They know if we register guns, if we start taking away guns, we start taking away the capacity of the guns, that they're going to tip that power equation so far in their favor that we the people will never have power to stand up against them. I mean, history's repeating itself. And you have to wonder. We all know this is true. We all have seen history. We know what Hitler did. We know what Mao Zedong did. Why is it that we the people are standing by idly as we see this happening in the United States of America here in the 21st century? Do we really think that the same actions are going to produce a different result? Tell me, do you really believe that if the federal government takes away our guns, that somehow we're not going to be under a dictatorship? For all practical purposes, we are. If you don't obey their laws, you get smacked down, incarcerated. The drones. They'll be flying drones. In fact, I just saw that they now have a drone that's capable of identifying whether or not a person is carrying a gun, a weapon. Here. Welcome to 1984 in the year 2013. Thank you, George Orwell, for writing that book, 1984, so I would know what was happening. See, I always thought it was important to read 1984 before 1984, and I did. I think I read it in 1983, because I wanted to know what I might be up against. At the time, I didn't realize it was a novel. And after reading it, I still didn't realize it was a novel. Because when I went to look for it later, a few years later, I was in the reference section because I thought it was a reference book. Joke was on me, but the joke, not a joke, it's reality. Life is imitating art. It's just really sad, my fellow Americans, that it's come to this. But I wouldn't be surprised within the next few years if we don't see some type of civil disruption in this country of a magnitude that might even be considered civil war. There's, I guess, documents being released talking about how they're building a huge bunker under the White House. I already thought they had that. But even if they didn't, and they are building it, they're using your tax dollars and my tax dollars. Whereas, do I get to go in the bunker? Do you? No. You try and go in that bunker, you'll get shot by a bullet that you paid for with your own taxes. Think about it. Let that sink in. No, I haven't been getting too much fresh air or negative ions down by the ocean. It's just that I'm just really disturbed that this is what our country's coming to. I mean, up here on my place, I mean, it's nice and serene. And if I wanted to, I could stick my head in the sand or up you-know-what, my you-know-what, and not worry about it and be oblivious to it. And maybe, just maybe, I might be able to live out the rest of my days that way, in that la-di-da, everything's fine attitude, and nothing horrible befalls me. But what if that one day I wake up to a bunch of SWAT team members with armored vehicles saying, we want all your supplies and all your guns? What then? I want to make sure we stop it before it gets to that. I mean, we have local sheriffs that want to stand up to Obama, but I guess somewhere, some congressmen and governors want to take away the sheriff's power because they don't want to go along with that program. Basically, they say, you will do as we tell you, or we will incarcerate you. We will incinerate you, like they did in Texas. See, when you look at the recent history, what I mean by recent, say, my lifetime, last 50-some years, I mean, we saw Kent State, we saw Waco, we saw Ruby Ridge. We've seen all kinds of acts of violence by our government upon its own people. I mean, most recently, look what they did to some of the Occupy people. Whether or not you agree with them and their tactics, I mean, really, they're sitting there and they get pepper sprayed, they get beaten. I mean, look, Rodney King, why can't we all get along? Once again, it's because we're playing their game. And their game is to keep the battle going, keep the game going, keep us engaged, and keep us distracted on things that really don't matter in the big picture. Because the big picture is freedom and liberty versus tyranny and dictatorship. That's the big picture. Slavery. Now, if I don't pay taxes, they'll take away my property. If I don't pay the fee, I can't drive my vehicles. Where is the true freedom? Freedom of speech. You know, they could shut down the internet. They could delete my videos if they don't want them out there. What freedom is that? I mean, really, once again, that concept, the idea that we have rights. No, all you have or don't have is power. If you have power, then you can pretty much do what you want to do. But if somebody has greater power than you, then they have the ability to oppose their will and beliefs upon you. And if you don't knuckle under, they'll shoot you, kill you, confine you, restrict you, censor you, whatever. So you see, even when you play their game, you can't win. You fight them, you might have a chance. So as Harry Brown said in How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World, you, as an individual, have to decide for yourself what you will and won't do, regardless of what's going on out there. So if you want to smoke dope, you do it in the privacy of your home. You only deal with people who you want to deal with. Personally, I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. It's not my thing. But I wouldn't tell somebody else that they shouldn't or couldn't. That's their right, their life. What gives me the right to want to force my belief on somebody else? You know, if you're a parent, then you kind of force your beliefs upon your kids because you want them to grow up as good humans, as what you consider good humans. But of course, not all parents think the same way. But that's kind of off topic. But the point is that this whole Second Amendment gun right thing, it's just part of the game. And if you buy into it, and you're just playing their game, and you have to make a decision as an individual what you will and won't do, and when you're going to do it. So you have to decide if you're going to take a stand, or if you're just going to roll over. It's your choice. I respect your choice. Some people might take it to the extreme and actually lock and load, bear down, and start firing weapons. They may live, they may die, they may become prisoner. But what they're not willing to do is just roll over and take it. So don't tread on me. Don't tread on me. You see, this is something that our elected officials in Congress and the House and the President and the state levels and the county and the city levels, they've forgotten that. They think that they want to protect you. But that's not what they want to do. They want to stay in control. They want to control you. You see, you, as an individual, can make a choice. You can either be a victim and look to the government for help, or you could be a sovereign individual that takes responsibility for your actions and your reactions, and you do what you have to do to survive without the government. See, if you're a victim, you need the government. And if you're the government, you need the victim, because the victim gives you reason to exist. But you see, when you're an individual, a responsible individual that takes care of yourself, you don't want the government, you don't need the government, and you don't need any victims. You're not looking to make anybody a victim. You don't want anybody to be a victim. If anything, you want them to be more like you, which is a responsible person, responsible for themselves and their family. But see, that's not what they want. That's not what the people in charge want. If you think about it, it's really that simple. Why does FEMA exist? Because there's victims. We have a disaster. Oh, help us, help us. But now there's, the prepper movement, and, us preppers, survivalists, it's like, no, we prepare. We don't need the government. We don't want them. Because we know in a disaster, chances are the government's only going to make things worse, not better. They're going to want to herd you into some FEMA camp. And then once you get there, they're going to take away your weapons. They might even confiscate what you have on you and tell you where to go and what you can and can't do. And they won't let you leave. Are you kidding me? No, that's for victims. I'm no victim. No. So you see, this country was founded with people who are responsible for themselves. But now we've turned into a bunch of people who are victims, who are looking for handouts from the government. 50 million people on food stamps. That's about 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7 Americans on food stamps. I think the numbers was 20, 25 million of them are children. What has this country come to? So you see, the Second Amendment is for people who are responsible. Because we all know the criminals, the bad guys, the ne'er-do-wells, they're going to find a way to get a gun. I mean, here in Oregon, you were allowed to carry concealed on campus. It's been that way for about 20-some years. Not one incident of gun violence. Guess what they want to do, our elected officials? They want to take that right away. They don't want you to protect yourself. Because if you protect yourself, the government has no need to exist. They need victims in order to exist. You have to see this game for what it is. It's a game. They're gaming your mind. They're programming your mind to believe. And when people like me come along, they do what they can to make us look like we're crazy. Oh, he's some kind of prepper survivalist, wacko nut. Oh, he's a malcontent. He doesn't like anything. They always attack the messenger, never the message. That's part of their game. And many people fall for it. So you see, my fellow Americans, once again, it's time to wake up and smell the tyranny.